Right. Hello, everybody. So welcome to this month's wine tasting. I'm here with Christine in central London, which seems to have the dodgiest internet connection ever. It's like you're in the middle of Wales, Christine, not in Hampstead.
Yeah, well, what can I say?
I know. So I apologise in advance if sometimes we stall, but what I would say to you is if we do, stick with us because we've got 3 very beautiful wines that we're going to take you through today. And for those of you who don't know, Christine has a lifelong career in the drinks industry and knows more about wine than I know about anything. I think it's probably true.
Yeah, mind you, I have forgotten a lot of it, but
I'm sure
that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, you do it long enough and you forget, but actually it's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah.
And Christine's very good at putting me right when I make some grand assertion about something I think I know about this wine. And she goes, no, Laura, that's totally the wrong country, which is what you did last time. So
yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do with countries this time.
Yeah, so stick with us and we will take you through these 3 wines. So what's the first wine, Christine?
So the first wine is white. It's the Cognate white. Let's see if we can go on.
Let me do
in
that.
front of the camera.
So this is Cognate. So this is, I'm going to put a little ticker up in a minute, available on Wise Bartender, and is one of a new range of alcohol-free wines they've just started stocking. And do you think this one's a bit of a game changer in terms of moving forward?
Yeah, I think this is quite smart, and it's interesting because we're going to have 2 wines from South Africa tonight. This one is from South Africa. Let me pour for you so you can taste.
There's a spittoon here, everybody. I don't think I've ever used a spittoon when drinking wine in my entire life. But anyway,
spittoon. But I'm not sure I'm going to be using it, but it's my safety blanket. You know, if I do a tasting, I have a spittoon.
Well, it smells very much of a white wine.
Well, yes, and hopefully it smells of a South African white wine.
How would you know the difference?
Well, South Africa's quite interesting because it's a fairly hot place. So most of what we call the New World, you know, the Southern Hemisphere and Americas tend to be hotter than European vineyards. But at the same time, the way that wines are made in South Africa tends to be a bit more European. So it's kind of halfway. But this is, the other thing about this is it's a grape which is very, very South African, and apologies if you're French because it's Chenin Blanc, but actually it's big in South Africa. They've been growing it forever, and the vines are probably older than most of the Chenin Blanc vines in the Loire in France, actually.
So you heard it here first,
which is a good thing.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
It's big as I always associate South Africa with big, bold wines. And for me, this is good. It's got a lot of really nice smell on the nose. It reminds me of wine that I used to drink. And just to let people know that once I gave up drinking, I gave up on alcohol-free wines totally because there wasn't anything that suited me. And now I've taken them up again, you know, 7 years on, really. I'm finding that this is bringing back memories.
Yeah, well,
so this is Chenin Blanc.
It's a Chenin Blanc, which is quite an interesting grape. It has very high acidity. So acidity is the stuff that makes your mouth water. You feel it around the side of your mouth, and which makes it great for food. But it's also a grape that is often used for sweet wines in France. But it makes really tangy, sort of marmaladey, zesty wines in warmer places like South Africa. Very, very appetizing, and it also has quite a lot of texture as a grape, and that's come through really well here.
Certainly, I think this has got a lot of body, which some alcohol-free wines do miss. It's definitely not too sweet. It feels a lot drier. I guess that's the acidity that you can definitely get.
Yeah. But I think this is really clever. I think they've used good grapes for it. So this is if you're a wine geek, you'd be interested in the fact that this is dry grown bush vines. So what that means is that instead of those vineyards you see where there's lots of posts and trellises and everything's sort of trained along and the vines look like they're being held prisoner, these are bush vines. Each vine is just an old gnarled bush, you know, and they survive drought very well. It's quite hard in a climate like South Africa not to irrigate, but they don't. So they have good grapes, you know, you get that concentration. And I think this is incredibly close to an alcoholic type Chenin Blanc. I think it's really authentic. I do think it is a game changer, actually.
Do you think, because there wasn't a lot coming out of South Africa before, do you think some of this has been prompted by the alcohol ban in South Africa? They had to really think about it, or? Yes.
Although I think probably not this particular wine. This is quite interesting because although it's a South African wine, it's been created for a wine importer in Sweden. A couple of guys who are cousins, whose names I can't pronounce, but they are David and Adam anyway. They wanted to have a decent non-alcoholic wine, and they were involved with wine, and they worked with a producer in South Africa to get what they wanted. But they also import other wines, and I think it's quite interesting. Sweden is one of those places where there's a state monopoly over the sale of alcohol.
Yeah, I was about to say that, a bit like Finland, which I go to a little bit more often. And because of that, they've been looking at alcohol-free for quite a while.
Yeah.
And because they've got it's a state-run thing, they've gone, right, we need to do more alcohol-free. And they've just gone in.
Absolutely.
They created the market immediately. It's not like the supermarkets here. So I went to Finland once and there was hardly any alcohol-free. And then the state monopoly decided they were going to bring in alcohol-free, and it's suddenly everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So it's like a big bang. And so, that might be why there's a demand.
So, I would guess that in this case, it's more about the pull from Sweden than it is the push from South Africa. And it's just so nicely made. They've done clever things. You know, there's a thing called Lee's work, which is important because it gives texture and body. And this starts off as a wine. I always say one of the reasons it's quite hard to cheaply make a good dealcoholized wine is you've got to make a wine first.
Yeah.
So they make the wine, and wine is the grape juice fermented with yeast, and then eventually, the yeast dies and you get some lees, some sediment. But what they do here is they leave the wine on those lees for 3 weeks, and then that gives a lot of body to it. Then they take the alcohol out. So it's quite smart. I think it's very cleverly made, and I really like it.
I think it's that bit where you can really tell an alcohol-free wine whether there's time and energy being spent over it.
Yeah,
that's good. I like sitting here. I can see your notes now. So I tend to be really clever. Well,
you can have your own set if you want.
But actually, it's a really important point that you have on your notes there, which is this is fair trade and vegan.
Yeah. Yeah.
What makes it fair trade in South African terms?
So it's about you've caught me out there. Oh, I don't have the top of my.
I mean, in fair trade terms, everybody in the chain is paid fairly.
Yes, and it's about the people who grow the grapes.
Yeah,
and it might surprise a lot of people who drink wine or dealcoholized wine to know that quite a lot of the world's wine is made by people who don't grow the grapes in the first place. And this would almost certainly be the case here. So it's fair trade because those farmers who could be any type of farmer, they will get paid a fair price. And I like it. I think
cool.
it's good. And vegan is good.
Yeah, and we've got a comment from somebody saying this is encouraging because the only AF wine they've tried so far tastes too much like Schlur. Well, I can tell you this is why we're doing this discovery box.
Yes.
This is why Christine is probably scaring the whole of the wine industry by doing this as somebody who's a well-respected wine expert, to show that actually things are beginning to change. And we, partly in this tasting, we're teaching you about tasting differently because there will be some differences in alcohol-free wine, but your taste buds do also change, and helping you taste the better wines that we have found. And there definitely has been a step change recently. So the Cognate is one of those. I'm hoping that I can end up taking that one home, Christine. I think I could definitely do that.
As it's you. Yeah, but it is good though, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah, well, I can tell what Christine's got proper glasses now for the next one.
Yeah. So we're going fizz now. So
this is one of my favourites, by the way, everybody. So I'm always excited.
If I can get the top off. This is one. It's the old Blue Peter thing here. It's one I prepared earlier, but there we go. Do you want to show the bottle?
So this is Wildlife Botanical. It's a wine with extra benefits in that it's had some extra uplifting elixir of vitamins, minerals, and active botanicals in it. And we'll probably explain a little bit more about what that means shortly.
You're reading off the label.
Yeah. Shh. Did you not think I was like sophisticated and learned this? I love a good label. I can read quite a long distance. And what was I going to say? And it comes from Cornwall. The grapes might not come from Cornwall, but it's made. All right, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to zip it. Go on then.
I've done that classic thing you do with champagne. It nearly went
You're
over
meant to be the expert.
I didn't say I was the expert at pouring.
Go on then. Tell me properly about the wine.
Okay, so it is the wine, and remember, it's the same thing. You always start with a wine with alcohol in it. That is made in Spain, and then in Cornwall they blend it and they carbonate it. They put the fizz in, and I think it's the blending that is the really clever thing here, because this is a little bit different. You probably got a clue from the name Botanicals on it, Wildlife Botanicals, and also your helpful rendition of
off the back of the label.
So this is part of what I think is quite an interesting new trend, where producers are saying, actually, it is hard to make a de-alcoholized wine that tastes really good. And one of the things we could perhaps do is put some other things in. And maybe those other things will add functionality to it. Now, functionality is a bit of a weird word, but if you think about it, wine with alcohol in is functional in the sense that alcohol has an effect on you. And I think quite a lot of producers are thinking, well, how can we have a drink that does have some effect on you without it having alcohol in it? And that's what they've done here.
Yeah, so you'll find this quite a lot in the world of alcohol-free drinks at the minute. The lots like 3 spirits, and those with CBD in are offering you a functional benefit and a natural uplift that goes into your drink so that you feel like you're getting some boost.
Yeah, and this it's got minerals and vitamins, hooray, but it's got some herbs, and I've got the list here. It's quite interesting, actually. And I looked up what they were for. It's got lemon balm, which fights anxiety and depression. I like that. It's got something I'd never heard of, ashwagandha, which is used in Ayurvedic medicine. It increases energy, reduces pain and anxiety, like that. Rosemary, which is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, which is always nice. And it helps memory. I definitely need that.
Unlike actual alcohol, which doesn't help memory at all.
Yeah, I know. This is incredible.
There were 2 things I thought that would improve when I gave up drinking, Christine. One was my memory, and the other was sleeping with inappropriate people. And neither got better.
I'm just not going to comment. Actually, Laura, I have nothing to say. Damask rose fights anxiety and depression. Well, I like that. This is a bit of a theme here, isn't there?
Damask rose is actually one of the flavours that is done by the soda company in, why can't I suddenly remember them? Luscombe's.
Oh yeah,
and it was my favourite one of their sodas. So I'm really pleased. I can see now why this is in here.
And you can taste it. You can taste it. And Damiana, I don't know if I'm saying that right, which I think is from Mexico or South America, which is aphrodisiac, and also in, you know, where it's produced, is used to give you a slight high. So this is quite nice. I think they've kind of turned the alcohol thing on its head, because yes, aphrodisiac, yes, giving you a slight high, reducing pain and anxiety. I think alcohol can do those things, but fighting depression and helping memory and giving you minerals and vitamins, I think that's something that alcohol can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are the smells that you get here with this one?
Well, I have to say, I don't initially feel it's very wine-like when I smell it. And then I reset, you know, I mean, it looks kind of champagne-y. It's that champagne type bottle, but it doesn't have that savoury quality. It's more floral, it's more plants, more herbaceous.
It's definitely sweeter, but it's not a sickly sweet. I feel like it's a slightly herbal sweet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it smells a bit more like a Prosecco might than a champagne. And I think when you drink it, it's got something in common with Prosecco. It's got that bright, fresh, gently fruity, kind of cheerful feel to it. That's wine jargon there.
Yeah, this also has what I call the important thing, which is speed humps, which stops you drinking it too quickly. So it doesn't feel like a slur or a soft drink, which you would drink quickly.
Yeah.
You can put it down and then come back to it. And the bubbles stay. They don't disappear.
Yeah. They really do. And you talk about speed bumps, which I absolutely love. In you know, my background with wine, my favourite thing is wines that do something in the mouth and maybe change in the glass. Now, changing in the glass is more than, you know, I wouldn't expect this to do that. It might, but changing in the mouth, it definitely does. So it starts a bit sherbety, you know, a sort of zesty and bright, quite an explosion of fruitiness. But then different things happen. You get a bit of almost anise coming through, a little bit of a floral note.
And then the sweetness does go.
It doesn't finish sweet at all.
No.
And finish is really important, because if it was actually sugar, that would be there at the finish, but it's actually a fruitiness from the wine that this is made from. And I think that's very likable.
It's very lovely. There's a question about asking if you're a 100% alcohol-free wine expert, and the answer is no. Christine is, I'm going to blow Christine's trumpet here, because there's a reason why she's here with me, which is that you've worked in the industry for your entire adult life.
Well, I was a chef, then I was, you know, a restaurant manager and a hotel food and beverage manager, but then I was head of wine for an international restaurant group for 18 years.
And Christine put together the Orchard list, which is the alcohol-free list for the Michelin-starred Hakkasan restaurant, which I have been to, and it's amazing. And their alcohol-free drinks, and more importantly, their tea for me is quite exceptional. Yeah. So you know, the fact that Christine is now talking very positively about alcohol-free wines in this space shows you how much things have moved on.
Well, I can sum it up even, thank you for that. That was very nice. When we did the Orchard list, which was about 6 years ago now, we ended up with a list of about 39 drinks without alcohol that we offered, and they were all different kinds of things. But, you know, I don't think we had a de-alcoholized wine, or maybe we had one. And we tasted almost everything that was available that we could get. and there just wasn't enough that was good. Now, if I was writing that list again now, I would actually have a wine list within a wine list.
With the alcohol frees there.
Yeah, for the
a lot has happened in 6 years.
Yeah.
Also to say that the woman who makes this in Cornwall is called Ellie, and she's amazing, and she's got pedigree in the food industry, but is incredibly passionate about creating this wine. And I love hearing her talk about it. It's great.
That's so nice. And she's done things like they have I never know how you say it, naturopath.
That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Who's actually on the team. And so they really take it seriously, both about the wine and about what they're adding to it. And I think they've been very, very clever, because they've created a lovely drink, but they've also created these benefits from it, you know, these benefits to how you feel.
So for those of you just tuned in, this is Wildlife Botanical Nude Sparkling Wine. They also do a rosé, which I suspect will make its way into the wine box at some point.
I think so. Are
you looking for the toppy bit?
Yeah, here we go.
So that we can finish it off afterwards, because I can't take that one home.
No.
So we're going to have to do some more planning and plotting over that one afterwards. I'd say this is one of my this is one of my treat drinks. If I'm thinking that I'm going somewhere special, or I'm seeing a friend, I want to do something nice, then I'll order a bottle of this from Tom. Well, not just one bottle, to be fair, several bottles of this from Tom. And it's definitely something that fits very much into special occasion box for me.
It is really lovely for a special occasion.
We haven't used a spittoon yet.
No, we haven't, but I still feel better having it there.
Right, next we have, I'm really hoping the internet's working better for you guys. I'm never quite sure, but we'll work on that for next time.
You've got to try and get this right in front of the camera, because I want them to see the picture on the label there.
It's a gnarly wine thing.
Vine, Laura.
Vine. It's not tea. I'm trying to get that right.
Yeah, okay. So, well, let's hope they're all looking at the bottle. Are you all looking at the bottle, everybody? Yes. Good.
Excellent.
So,
tell me about it. And I didn't read off the back of the label this time and steal your thunder.
Oh, no, you can read off the back of the label if you like. So, go on, you do the label.
So this is a de-alkalized wine. It's a rosé and salmon and pink in colour, with ripe strawberries and sweet candy floss on the nose. Oh, candy floss. That says to me sweet.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a little bit sweeter. So
okay.
But then rosé so often is a bit sweeter.
But it is a salmony pink. It's not a bright pink. I don't like bright pink drinks. It's not very me.
It's not
so this
sort
is
of
good.
Neon pink, is it?
No,
it's definitely not. So this is Darling Cellars rosé from South Africa again, and this is a different situation. So this is a quite well-known producer in South Africa that makes and has made for many years alcoholic wines. I think they first built a wine cellar and started making wines in 1996, and it sounds to me a bit like the kind of cooperative you might get in Italy. They have 20 shareholders who grow the grapes. And in case you don't know, the Darling region, so Darling is actually a place. It's an area in South Africa. It's about an hour's drive north of Cape Town, quite close to the coast, which is always a good thing with wine, because you get that effect on temperature. And this is, well, I quite like to know what you think of it, because I think this is a very unusual style.
Do you know, when I read the back and it said candy floss, I had a horrible, this is going to be too sweet, and one of those ones that, you know, if you've been trying different alcohol-free wines, that thing that they should go, oh, this is just like loads of fruit blended together. But that actually isn't what's happened at all.
No.
I'm actually pleasantly surprised at this. I had all sorts of, it's really bad to say, I had all sorts of quite low expectations, because rosé, even when I was drinking, came in a bit too sweet for me. But this is actually really lovely.
Yeah, it's funny how rosé, it's just, you know, does have, people have so many hang-ups about rosé, and it can be so beautiful. But this is interesting because it's made from a white grape and a red grape. And I think we talked, if you listened to us last month, we said that that's not how alcoholic rosé is generally made. But this is. So this is actually 98% Sauvignon Blanc, which is not at all something you expect in a rosé. And then it's got just 2% of red wine, which is Garnacha or Grenache, which is the Adnams wine we had last month, was a Grenache.
So does that bring the sweetness down, really? Or
I think the Sauvignon Blanc is probably bringing it down because it's quite a tangy grape. It's typically, depending where it comes from, it can taste flinty, green peppers, gooseberries, grapefruit, kind of that colour, a bit green, zesty. And in this particular wine, I think they've managed a savoury quality as well, which I guess is kind of wine speak. I don't think most people go around talking about savoury.
It's not
wine.
Like some Marmite in a wine glass.
No, it is a little bit actually because of the yeast. Oh, but it's not like Marmite. It's just that appetizing. It's umami. We'll have to talk about umami.
Yes,
one of these days, because umami in wine is quite rare. But when you get a savouriness to a wine, it makes it very appetizing and it makes it very good with food. And
this definitely surprised me. It's definitely better than I was expecting. This would be very lovely. And actually right now in the summer, this is a very lovely rosé.
Mm. So the reason I wanted to look at the label is we talked about bush vines and, nice gnarly old vines. And that's exactly what is on the label here. And it's the same thing. It's bush vines, dry farms, so no irrigation. So they have to cope with the extremes of temperature themselves. And it tends to give you a quite good quality grape, quite concentrated fruit.
Yeah.
This sort of vine has to work quite hard to make its fruit. And that's what you want for wine.
So I think, I think you've done it again, Christine. You've managed to bring together 3 wines that are really quite exciting. And interesting, and are beginning to change this category. So I think that's really excellent.
Yeah.
I love the so we're going to have to get better at this. But you've got the Cognate white, the Darling Cellars rosé, and then we've got the sparkling, which is the wildlife botanicals nude. Those are 3 wines that we've had this month. Just to let people know, because we talked a bit about, because the sugar content in wine is generally higher. So those people who have been looking for, who've got diabetes and may have cut down drinking, the wines don't always suit them. I think maybe one day we should do a diabetes special
That's a good idea.
For the wines. Whereas, the beers and stuff aren't full of sugar. But again, a lot lower in calories, if anyone wants to know. This is 17 calories per 100 mils for the Cognate. This one is 100 mils. This is I said you've got the kilojoules on this one. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, I can't even read
that. So it's less basically than this one. So it's less than 17 calories per 100
mils. You'll have to have a look at that one.
And this has got the tiniest writing underneath it, and this is 25 calories per 100 mils. So again, they're really low in calories. This one though does also tell you how much vitamin C, how much zinc, how much niacin. Oh, this is a good one to drink after running. It's got 12% zinc.
Whoa, and that's good for
100 mils
immunity as well, isn't it?
50% vitamin C of your daily intake of vitamin C in 100 mils of this. Well, there we are. And the vitamin B12 is high, the thiamine. This is good.
Yeah, it is good. I really like that we've got sort of 3 wines here that they taste good. You would actually want to drink them. I think a lot of people might be given a glass of this casually, certainly the rosé and the white, and not realise they weren't wine with alcohol in. I think the Wildlife Botanicals is quite distinctive in its flavour.
Yeah, so you would ask,
go, wow, what's this?
Yes.
They wouldn't necessarily think it wasn't a wine. They just want to know, what wine is this?
What's those botanical notes that's in it?
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant, everyone. Look, we're going to leave it there for this week. I'm going to watch this back and see how the internet was, and but that's okay. We will sort that out for next time. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.